morning, my dear children. Welcome back to our English classroom. This is Shilpa. I'm again with you with your third unit. Every unit at first, anyway, you have to learn or you wanted to learn one short story. Same here also, I'm going to tell you one story. It has taken from the Japanese tale. Okay, the title of the story is The Ashes That Made Trees Bloom, written by William Elliot Griffiths. Okay, so basically the story, it is happening between the kind and greedy people in our society. We can see the two faces of the people and the two states of the people. The on one part, kind people; on the other aspect, we can see the greedy people. They don't like to see the growth of us. Am I right? So at first I plan to give the summary of the story. Then I changed the tone and the thought because the story is quite interesting. So I'm going to read one by one paragraph. Then I'm going to give you the summary. Okay, that's better. So now I'm going to give you the summary by paragraph wise. Okay, so I'm so interested to read the stories. That's why. The ashes that made trees bloom. In the good old days of daimyos. Daimyos means in 19th century Japan, it's called as wealthy landowners. Okay, there lived an old couple whose only pet was a little dog having no children. They loved it as though it were a baby. The old dame made it a cushion for Blue Prey, and at mealtime Muku, for that was its name. What was the name of the dog? Pet dog? Muko. Actually, this old couple, the old dame, they don't have any children. They don't have children, and they have gotten one street dog, dumb dog. And what they did, they tried to feed the dog and they tried to take care of that dog very well, like their baby, like their child. Okay, so for that was its name. What was the name of the dog? Yes, it was Muko. Okay, then would sit on his snack as they any cat. The kind people fed the pet with the tidbits of the fish from their own chopsticks. What they do give food from their own chopsticks. Chopsticks means the persons, those who are having the food from the same plate itself, they are serving the food for others. So what the old couple they do have by themselves, and the same food they serves to the dog. Dog means Muko. Okay, don't forget the name of the dog. And all the boiled rice it wanted. How much he wanted, everything they are ready to serve and to feed the dog. Thus treated, the dumb creatures loved its protectors like a being with a soul, heart touch. From the bottom of the heart, they loved. Okay, the old man being a rice farmer. Next, who was the old farmer? Yes, he was a rice farmer. Went entirely with a hoe or spade into the fields. Hoe or spade means the tools which we are using to dig the mud. Working hard from morning until Tento Sama. So this is Japanese word, Tento Sama, as the sun is called. Okay, as the sun is called Tento Sama. Had gone towns behind the hills till sunset. He is trying to do the hard work. Okay, so every day the dog followed him to work. Every day, you just imagine. So morning he took his hoe and the spade and going to the field, followed by the dog. So it's quite interesting. That's why I'm reading one by one line. Okay, so followed him to work, never once harming the white herons that walked in the footstep on the old woman to pick up the worms. For the old fellow was patient and kind to everything that had life. The dog was so patient, okay, and often turned up a sword on the purpose to give food to the birds. So what is the intention of the farmer? So he do feed for the herons, the birds also. Okay, So the worms, when you are digging the mud, you will get the worms. Okay, so that what the farmer is doing, yes, he do feed for the birds. One day, so this is the what is it showing? Yes, it shows the charity or the kindness of the poor farmer. Okay, one day the dog came running to him. This is the turning point of the story. You just listen very carefully. One day, what happened? The dog came running to him, putting his paws against the leg and motioning with his head to some spot behind. Yes, the dog wanted to show something to him. The dog wanted to say something to him. So, what he did, his paw against his leg. Whose leg? The farmer's leg. And motioning with his head to some spot behind. Okay, so the old man at first thought his pet was only playing and didn't mind it. At first, what the old man thought, yes, sometimes the dog was playing with him. Okay, but the dog kept on whining and running to and fro for some minutes. What he was disturbed. Actually, if you have the pet animals, you could understand the feelings of the pet animals because they have the communication ability. Okay, they have the communication ability and they do communicate with us. Okay, so what happened? But the dog kept on whining and running to and fro for some minutes. Then the old man followed the dog few yards to a place where the animal began a lively scratching. What he was scratching on the floor or the mud, thinking it was possibly buried bone or bit of fish. What the old man thought, yes, it might be a buried or bone bit of fish. Sometimes it may be a bit of fish or buried bone. Strikes, but the old man strikes his hoe in the earth when, oh my God, pile of gold claimed before him. What's this? Pile of gold. Bunches of gold. It's shining before him. Okay, then what will happen? We will be getting surprised. The same feelings also the farmer he had. Okay, thus in that hour the old couple were made rich. Then obviously what will happen? The old people, the old farmer became the rich. The good souls bought a piece of land. What they did? They purchased a piece of land, made a feast for their friends. They provide feast for the friends. Okay, then they gave plentiful to their poor neighbors. How much their neighbors wanted, they give unto them. As for the dog, they're really thankful to the dog. Okay, then as for the dog, they petted him till they nearly smothered with kindness. They were really thankful to the dog Muku. Okay, so now in the same village, obviously what will happen, my dear children, if you are getting high mark in English, maybe your friend will have the jealous in his mind. Ouch, you have gotten this much marks, then for the next exam I will find out, or I will do some mischievous things. So obviously that's a greed. Nothing will happen in your life. If you are a greedy people, nothing will happen in your life. You will fall down. You will fall down. So always you have to think that. Be kindful. Okay. The next one is, now in the same village, what happened? The rumor started. Ouch. He became rich. So I wanted to be rich like him. Okay, so now in the same time village there lived a wicked old man and his wife. Greedy old man and his wife, if not a bit sensitive and kind. They don't have bit sensitive and kind. Such people are known as greedy people. Okay, who had always kicked and scolded old dogs whenever they passed their house. If any dogs passed in front of their house, they started to scold them. Okay, hearing of their neighbor's good luck. But even after hearing the good luck of their neighbor, then what happened? Sudden changes happened in their life. What? They coaxed. Coaxed means persuaded. Coaxed the dog into their garden and set before him bits of fish and other dainties. They started to feed the Mukho, hoping he would find treasures for them. What they hoped? Yes, they hoped that he would find the treasures for the weak, the greedy old man and his wife. Okay, but the dog, being afraid of the cruel bears, would neither eat nor move. He never mind all the people. Muku was really afraid of that cruel creatures of means cruel old man and his wife. Okay, then they dragged him out of the doors, taking a spade and a hoe with them. No sooner had the dog got near a pine tree. What did they take? The dog is near to the pine tree. Okay, growing in the garden, that he began to paw and scratch on the ground, as if a mighty treasures lay beneath. Actually, these two stanza, it says that the before how Mukho has befooled the old couple. Okay, so Kyuk, wife, hand to me the spade and hoe, cried the greedy old fool as he danced with the joy. What he was doing, he was danced with the joy. Yes, we have got the treasure. Okay, the next, then the conspicuous old fellow, conspicuous means that's the greedy old fellow, okay, with a spade and old crowns with a crown means all woman. Okay, so with a hoe began to dig. They started to dig. They began to dig, but there was nothing but the dead kitten. What was there? It was the dead kitten. There was nothing precious in the mud. Okay, the smell of which made from the drop their tools and shut their noses. It was really disgusting. What? Disgusting. Disgust means bad smell. Okay, okay. Furious at the dog, the old man kicked and beat him to death. What the old fellows did, they bet the Muku, or they bet the dog, and the old man kicked and beat him to death, and the old woman finished the work by nearly chopping off his head with a sharp hoe. My God, what the old couple they did, he kicked and beat him and his wife, she chopped the neck of the dog. Okay, then they then plunged into the hall and heaped the earth over his carcass. They threw to the hall. The owner of the dog heard the death of his pet and mourning for him as if he had been his own child. What happened? I felt so sad because I still remember the story, the golden goose. Okay, in that golden goose, the goose started to give the golden eggs due to the condition of the poor farmer. Okay, then in that story also, wife was the greedy, and what she told her husband that we have to kill the goose and we'll get lots of golden egg. So it comes goosebump, such a, okay. So what, I couldn't even believe that the owner of the dog heard the death of his pet when the sudden attack. The owner heard the sound or the news of the death of the pet. Then what will happen? He started to whine, he started to moan, he started to cry and mourning for him as he had been his own child. As his own child, what he was doing, he was mourning. Went at night under the pine tree. What he did, he went at the night that pine tree. He set up some bamboo tubes in the ground. What he wanted to do the funeral of the dog. Okay, so set up some bamboo tubes in the ground, such as are used before tombs, in which he put fresh flowers. What he did, he put some fresh flowers. Then he laid a cup of water and tray of food on the grave and burnt several costly sticks incense. Okay, so he mourned a great while over his pet, calling him many dear names as if he were alive. He was frequently calling the dearest name, what he called Muku, and he was together or simultaneously what he was doing, he was mourned. Okay, that night, Satan, what happened? Yes, when spirituality came over him. That night, the spirit of the dog appeared to him in a dream and said, cut down the pine tree over my grave. You just go and cut down the pine tree and to make from it a mortar for you rice pastry and to mill for your bean sauce. What do you want to do? You have to use the pine tree for what? To mortar for your rice pastry, okay, and mill for your bean sauce. Mill means that olden times they had the hand mill, not electric mill. It was a hand mill. You have to make a hand mill with a pine tree, okay. So the old man chopped down the tree and cut to the middle of the trunk a section about 2 feet long. With a great labor, party by fire, partly by chisels, and he scraped out of the hollow place as big as small bowl. What he did, he made a big and small bowls with the pine tree. Also, he then made a long hand-tilled hammer of wood such as is used for pounding rice. When the New Year's times drew near, he wished to make some rice pastry. Actually, what was his intention? He was a rice farmer and he wanted to make a rice pastry. Okay, and when the New Year it was round the corner, then what he did, when the rice was all boiled, what he did, he boiled the rice. Then Granny put into the mortar. The old man lifted the hammer to pound the mass into the dough, and blows fell heavy and fast till the pastry was already for baking. They were busy for making the pastry with the rice. Okay, so old granny means that old lady. Suddenly, the whole mass turned into a heap of the gold coins. Suddenly, what happened? All the pastry, all the grains become the gold. Okay, then it become heaps of gold coins. When the old man took the hand mill and filling it with the beans began to grind, gold dropped like a rain. What happened when they were grinding? Again, it was raining the gold coins. Okay. Meanwhile, the envious neighbor peeped at the window. What they were looking at? Yes, they were peeping at the window when the boiled beans were being ground. Oh. The next one is goody me, cried the old hag as she saw each dripping of the sauce into the yellow gold, until a few minutes the tub under the mill was full of shining mass of gold. You know, it was like a hand mill. You can grind it with your hands, and all the grains, it became gold. Okay, so the old couple were again rich. Obviously, then what happened? What will happen? Yes, others will become more greedy and angry towards the old couple. The next day, the stingy and the wicked neighbor. Do you remember the stingy and the wicked neighbor? Okay, came and borrowed the mortar and the magic mill. What they did, they bought the mortar and the magic mill from the old couple, old dame. Okay, they filled one with boiled rice and other with beans. What they did, one is with boiled rice and others with beans. They filled up and started to grind. Okay, but at the first blow and turn, when they turn at first blow, what happened? The pastry and the sauce turned into full of mass worms. The pastry become the mass of worms. Okay, so still more angry at this, they chopped the mill into the pieces. What they did, they chopped and they cut and all the mills to the pieces to use and firewood. What they did, they used the hand mill to the firewood. Okay, actually these two, we can see the two life of the people. One is greedy and kind. This is the part one what I discuss with you. I hope you understand. Now I'm going to wind up the session, and for the next module we'll see you soon later. Till then, bye.